Hey everybody, welcome to Only Stupid Answers. My name is DJ Wooldridge, and you may notice Sam Basher is not with me. He is off in Australia, but we got our own Australian to replace him. It was like a little switcheroo.
That's how that works, apparently.
Maude, for anybody that doesn't know, introduce yourself, tell people where they can find you and what you're up to.
What's up? My name is Maude Garrett. I too was a part of the SourceFed family, but I run a company called Geek Bomb, where it's just a geeky media site and channel where I interview a lot of celebrities and I geek out.
So let's dive into the main event.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker. Spoiler-free. We're going to start with spoiler-free. So the synopsis is, the surviving resistance faces the First Order once more in the final chapter of the Skywalker saga. And we just pulled, as of this recording, we pulled the Rotten Tomatoes score, which the critics' consensus reads, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker suffers from a frustrating lack of imagination, but concludes this beloved saga with a fan-focused devotion. And it has 58%.
That's devastating.
Now, I will say, I always feel like I point this out with Rotten Tomatoes, it is an aggregate of reviews that are deemed negative and positive. It is not like a weighted, like if you gave it a C+, that's listed
rotten.
as negative. Yeah, rotten. And so it's not necessarily an accurate representation of the type of scores it's getting.
Yes, it's just whether it passed or failed.
Yes.
It's rotten or it's fresh.
Which I don't know if I think is the best way to
you just
rate
have,
movies,
you have to
but
be,
whatever. Nobody asked me.
You have to be higher than a 6 out of 10. It's a 6 out of 10 or higher.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is under a 6 out of 10.
So you think 58% is not?
No.
I agree. I think that feels a little rough.
I'm around 75%, if that's okay. Maybe a little higher. It depends after we have a conversation, because I'm still kind of figuring this out. I only saw it 2 nights ago.
Yeah, and I literally just saw it yesterday, and so it's harder to gauge. So going into it, overall, just overall thoughts about this specific movie and how it caps off this trilogy.
Oh, the problem that I'm going to have is that I don't feel like they're 3 movies that happen to be a trilogy. I can't see them as a trilogy.
You know what? I am inclined to agree with that. I think I would argue, and based on an earlier conversation, I think that we might be on the same page with, I would argue, the biggest flaw of this trilogy, beyond maybe too much fan service, all that stuff, beyond all of that, is that when we went in, this idea of like, oh, different directors for each film seemed like, yeah, because there were different directors for the original trilogy. George Lucas did one, and then the next 2 were directed by different people. But that trilogy had the cohesive voice of George Lucas was writing it all.
Yes, he was the overseer.
Yes.
He kept it a congruent story.
Exactly.
Cohesive story.
So with this, you and I are both around theater people and actors and all that stuff. We do part of that stuff. So we're both familiar with the idea of yes and from improv, where you say, it's a train, for those that don't know, it's a training exercise in improv where it's basically you learn not to kill a scene. So if somebody says, I'm purple, and you're like, yes,
no,
and you have wings. Yeah. Saying, no, you're not.
Yeah.
The scene's dead.
Yeah.
And
you're orange. What?
Rian Johnson and JJ Abrams have not experienced this, because part of the frustration with Last Jedi, at least for me, was there was a lot of like
mystery box. Shut the box.
Exactly. Like, Rey's this. Well, no, actually, she's nobody. Well, and Luke's this. No, actually, because this. And there's a lot of like, no, I'm not going to do that. And it kind of made like it. And then now this, I think JJ.
No, I'm right.
Exactly.
And I said this. That is the biggest fault of the trilogy.
Yeah.
And it is obvious, and we can't ignore it. And it has hurt the franchise. They weren't playing nice.
Yeah.
They were not playing well with each other. I like The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I think that what Rian Johnson wanted to do was challenge an audience, challenge a fan, whereas JJ wanted to nurture and worship the fan and just really pay homage to the nostalgia and play it so safe because he didn't want to mess with something precious, whereas Rian was just like, I want to push boundaries.
Yeah.
I didn't actually like The Force Awakens. I thought it was too safe. I was like, this is literally a carbon copy of what we've seen.
Yeah.
So when we had The Last Jedi, I was like, wow, like I am seeing Star Wars in a new light. You are pushing boundaries. This is so cool that you are like not so safe and treading water here.
Yeah.
That was cool. Did it make sense? No. Was the plot flawed? Completely.
Yeah.
Did I have a good time? You betcha.
Yeah.
And I actually watched it again on the flight because I flew in the afternoon of the premiere and then went to the premiere, basically. And I saw Last Jedi on the flight again because I just didn't need to see The Force Awakens again. And I was like, I am enjoying this.
Yeah.
This movie, The Rise of Skywalker, has taken one component of The Last Jedi that JJ felt worked. And that was the connection and how Rey and Kylo spoke and interacted with each other.
I really liked the way it was utilized in this movie, and I thought
I
it was a
actually
good.
think he did a better job than Ryan with it.
And I think that's what benefits this movie in a way over The Last Jedi, because JJ Abrams is in a position. One, he started it, so he kind of gets to complete the arc that he saw this going in, but he also gets to cherry pick the elements he liked from The Last Jedi, which
and again shut down what he didn't.
Which is, there are no spoilers here, but I will say I was a little disappointed that Rose Tycho was so sidelined. If you're expecting her to have like a big thing, she doesn't. And
That's kind of a spoiler.
She's not a big part of them. I mean, you could see her on the poster. She's like in a tiny corner.
We'll say in the spoiler review who didn't have prominent features that, I'm disappointed with another character, so I'll let you know that in the spoiler review.
Yeah, so if you want the full spoiler review, check out the podcast when that comes out on Monday. But I think because he started the story in The Force Awakens, he gets the benefit from here. And like you said, cherry pick the elements he liked from The Last Jedi.
But you know what else he was doing? Listening to the discourse of The Last Jedi. And he was just like, the fans are angry because their precious Star Wars has been challenged.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he listened to the trolls.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the time, the smallest, the minority have the loudest voices when it comes to online, abuse.
Yeah.
And he catered to them.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit hard.
Yeah, there's some, and again, because of no spoilers, we won't get into. There's some specific moments that felt specifically tailored to cater to them, which were a bit groan-worthy. I will say, just getting kind of the negatives out of the way, I felt some of the jokes worked, some of them did not as much.
The ones that did, though, really did.
Well, and I think, this is why I think I enjoy this movie, because I think the other thing we might have learned after not just these three movies, but Solo and Rogue One, was this idea of like, hey, especially with this new Star Wars, is Star Wars going to provide us deep, rich characterization? Probably not. Is it going to provide us intricate plotting? Probably not. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have the most energetic, fun adventure we possibly can. I've heard critiques saying it felt like 9 movies or whatever. I would argue it felt like, because Disney Plus is out, I've been rewatching older cartoons that are on there. And I think the ones that really work do a good job of characterization while action's happening. Like things are always moving and we drop little bits of characterization and plot as we go. And so this felt more like 5 or 6 episodes of a Star Wars series stitched together, and we just keep going. Like, you don't have time to be like, wait, does this plot point work? Because we're already off to another one. Don't worry about it. We're off to another thing.
Maybe that's why I had a really great time, because the ride was going. I was already strapped in. But I'm trying to, and maybe we'll dissect it more in the spoiler, understand there are 3 whole movies in this, because I don't get that, and I can't agree with it, because I didn't feel that.
There does feel a little bit of work to, you feel the sense that JJ's trying to slip in some stuff that he wished was in Last Jedi, like, and where this is happening now. But I appreciated the energetic momentum that this movie kept, and because it kept me engaged. Yep. That's it. I was about ready to go into a spoiler, but I stopped myself. So what were the things for you that maybe didn't work so much?
That's spoiler. I think the whiplash of what direction they're going in the overall arc.
Yeah.
Some things that they were like, well, no, this is where the story's going, and this is how we'll make you see that this is what it is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So it's just kind of like JJ's doubling down, I guess, is probably the worst part for me.
Yeah.
And the screw you Last Jedi moments that were a little bit apparent in there, that's just like, they're not playing nice. I feel like JJ's in such a tough position where he cannot win. He's either going to appeal to one part of the audience or another part of the audience. And these audiences will never see eye to eye.
Yeah.
They either love Star Wars and everything that it does, or they hate what The Last Jedi was and they're absolutely done with the series. What I can't explain, though, is the people that hate The Last Jedi automatically don't want anything to do with this movie.
Yeah.
But the people that loved The Force Awakens don't like what's happened in this movie. And I was just like, wow, man.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guy.
I think Star Wars is a textbook example of kind of a victim of its own success, where there's not really anything at this point that you can. Everybody, it's kind of like the last season of Game of Thrones. Everybody has their own very specific view on what a thing should be at this point.
Yeah.
That it doesn't really matter what you do. There's going to be a contingent that's not not on board.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, because everyone's like, "Oh, you love everything. I bet you like the last episode of Game of Thrones." I really didn't, and I didn't like Solo. You did?
I
really did. I howled.
Yeah.
I cried for sobbed.
Yeah.
Because I championed that show so much.
Well, and I also say,
I get it. I understand those feelings.
People are ripping on you because you like everything. I feel like people don't like me. Like, I feel like I never like anything. And now when I like things, nobody else is on board. It's like I came out of that. It's like, I enjoyed that Star Wars movie. And now nobody's on board with it. But whatever. Neither here nor there.
I'm die alone on this hill, I feel. But after the movie, like, I cried and I had this, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you love it or hate it. You are wearing so much emotion and it's so weighted because it does make you feel like this is an end of an era.
Yeah.
And you feel that. And so for me, it's just like, love it or loathe it, like this is a very impacting movie.
Yes. So what would you rate Rise of Skywalker on its own?
Oh, I think it's the best one.
Of the three?
Yeah.
I
And it's not to say that I didn't like The Last Jedi. My order is The Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, and then Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So in the reverse order. I thought that this was... I think that the handling of not the end of this trilogy, but the end of 9 movies was done very, very well.
And it felt like an end to 9 movies too.
It did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, yeah. Well, actually, not the prequels.
Yeah.
It was homaging the original trilogy. The prequels do not exist in any capacity.
Yeah.
Unless there was some sort of like little nugget that they dropped that I was completely oblivious to.
I do have a question. There's a spoiler question I have for you, so we'll talk about that in the spoiler talk. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, though.
The answer is yes. So I think we tend to like to do kind of odd, weird numbers for our reviews.
Yes.
So let's rate it out of the 58% it has on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Out of 58, what would you give Rise of Skywalker?
Whatever 75% of 58 is.
Oh, that's a good question. So you're talking about maybe a C plus, C plus?
75%?
I
thought 6 out of 10 was a C+.
I think maybe you're thinking Australian grading methods.
How did I fail any subject then?
So you're thinking more of a B?
B minus.
B minus. That's fair. B. I think I'm a B as well. So out of 58, that would be 40. You let us know in the comments down below.
You do that math.
So we're going to go into spoilers. If you want to be a part of that discussion, you should check out our podcast episode that's going to drop on Monday, everywhere podcasts are sold. But you can tweet me at DJ Talks Trash. If you want to yell at me about liking Rise of Skywalker, that's where I'm at. Maude, where can the people find you and be nice and polite?
Yeah, please. I've had so much abuse that I just don't need anymore.
They're just Star Wars movies. They're just Star Wars movies.
And I like it. It's not like I'm shitting on the thing that you love.
Yeah.
Like I like the thing that you've not seen.
Yeah.
Which is so funny.
Yeah.
I'm at Maude Garrett on everything, and head over to Geek Bomb as well, where you can see the interviews that I've done for 2019 and my playing, watching, reading of the year too.
Yes. So check all that out. Geek Bomb was amazing. So feel free to give that some love. And thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bingo. Bye-bye.